So there comes a time in every nerd's life when said nerd gets a printed official adventure that takes place in a region they've wanted to see more of, and they get super excited, and they assume all the extra stuff will be for that region, and they say, here's one from the Arcadian Pantheon Wednesday afternoon worship, and they're wrong. Sorry about it. Nevertheless, my name is Tommy. Welcome back to the channel. It's time for another episode of Wednesday afternoon worship, though they may not be specifically from the southern parts of Arcadia. They are in fact from Book 5 of Tyrant's Grasp, Born by the Sun's Grace. And so today we are talking about the Psychopomp Usher Barzakh. If you're liking what you're seeing, like, subscribe, and ding the bell. If you have requests, they go there. If you have requests and are a patron, they go to the front of the line. And today, since, in fact, this book came from the digital realm of Washington, and Paizo has seen fit to provide me with all the good, this episode of Wednesday Afternoon Worship was brought to you in part by Paizo Productions. There's a lot of cool stuff coming from Paizo in the next few days. I'm pretty stoked. In any case, thank you so much for your support. Now let's hit it. Okay, so as far as Pathfinder's universe goes, every soul in creation, when you die, you go to the River of Souls, you traverse it, hopefully you don't get oped by a demon, eventually reaching Pharasma herself. Pharasma passes out judgment, you go to the afterlife of your choice. Well, choice is an awkward way to say it. Be careful when you sign contracts, kids. In any case, the River of Souls is a one-way street. And Pharasma's servants, the Psychopomps, of course, they need a way to get to the material plane to do their material plane stuff. When they do so, they travel via the Dead Roads. These pathways, which guide souls literally away from the Boneyard, which doesn't work, sorry about it, are maintained by a small army of Psychopomps, and their master is known as Barzakh. Despite their meandering and their wandering attention, Barzakh is uniquely powerful, capable of shedding travelers from the Dead Roads as a dog might shake water off itself. While the established Dead Roads lead to distinct times and places in the material plane, Barzakh can open new paths as well, either creating a new road outright or revealing long-forgotten pathways hidden from everyone else. Hidden doors into the Boneyard normally would be a pretty big security risk, however, Barzakh's oversight and the relative obscurity of these winding routes have thus far kept pretty much everyone at bay. Barzakh's origins remain a mystery even amongst the other Psychopomps. Most ushers spawn out of a mortal need, but Barzakh instead came literally from the needs of Psychopomps. Many believe that Barzakh is literally just like the avatar of the Dead Roads, a consciousness that can focus in only one or two places at a time along the impossibly large cosmic scale that the Dead Roads are. In any case, Barzakh manifests as an enormous armed corvid swathed in a ragged cloak and carrying a key and a keyhole. Their voice changes frequently, often sounding literally like a chorus as they speak. Many believe they present this form just as a puppet, crafting it from the countless ravens and other birds that watch the Dead Roads, and that Barzakh is pretty useful when you might be a literal avatar of a place. Those who worship Barzakh established small roadside shrines where travelers can pray. However, Barzakh is a servitor of the needs of Psychopomps and so doesn't really have a whole heck of a lot of mortal worshippers. Those few who do pray to Barzakh must make peace with the fact that their god may sometimes not reply to prayers for days. These obligations are often forgotten in favor of new sights and sounds that have caught Barzakh's attention, because again, when you're a steward of something that snakes through like the transitive plane just kind of all over the place, yeah, you're a busy guy. So, fun fact, as I go looking through this book, I do not see our man's domains or subdomains listed anywhere. Fortunately, we can just Google it. As a servitor of Pharasma, as you might have guessed, Barzakh is true neutral. Their domains are knowledge, protection, repose, and travel. Strangely enough, no listed subdomains here, so I'll say solitude, Psychopomp, of course, souls, and portal. Their favorite weapon is the club, and their symbol, two straight lines that converge vertically through a circle. To perform Barzakh's obedience, one must walk the road for an hour and keep a constant eye out for signs of fallen travelers or roadside graves. Tend to any of either you find. In return, it's a +4 insight bonus on knowledge, geography, and survival checks to find locations and avoid becoming lost. as well as on saves against magic effects that would force you to become lost, think the Maze spell. The Evangelist Boons give you Alarm thrice a day, Perceive Cues twice a day, or Speak with Dead once a day. At 16th level, as a standard action, you can assume the form of a giant raven. While in this form, you gain the Raven's Scavenger Extraordinary ability, a +2 Insight bonus to AC, and a +3 Insight bonus on Perception checks. For 1 hour per hit dice you have. This time does not need to be consecutive, but must be used in 1 hour increments. While in Raven form, you can increase or decrease your size as a standard action, as if you'd cast Reduce or Enlarge Person. These spells have their normal duration, treating your hit dice as your caster level. The casting either consumes 1 hour of your daily shape-shifting allotment. At 20th level, your passage is rarely impeded by landscapes or weather. For every 5 hit dice you have, you gain 1 terrain dominance as if you were a horizon walker. You do not need to have the Terrain Mastery class feature to select a terrain dominance. If you do not have a favored terrain bonus, treat your favored terrain bonus as +2 when dealing with creatures native to the terrains over which you have dominance. You do not otherwise gain the benefits of favored terrain. The Exalted Boons grant you Enduring Step 3 times a day, Animal Messenger twice a day, or Phantom Steed once a day. At 16th level, you no longer take non-lethal damage from moving at a hustle overland, and you gain Endurance and Nimble moves for free. And at 20th level, once per day as a full round action, you can open a door to the Dead Roads and guide others with you to cross huge distances or travel the plains, duplicating the effects of either Shadow Walk or Plane Shift, with a caster level equal to twice your hit dice. Dang. In the case of a Plane Shift spell, the effect is not instantaneous. Instead, it requires 2d6 hours of travel by foot, and eventually you end up at a random point on the target plane. Sentinel Boons give us Tireless Pursuit thrice a day, Locate Object twice a day, or Follow Aura once a day. At 16th level, you are adept at tracking, understanding, and assisting a specific kind of creature. Select a creature type from the Ranger's list of favorite enemies. You gain a +2 on survival checks to track them, and on Diplomacy, Heal, Knowledge, and Sense Motive checks regarding them. You also gain a +1 dodge bonus to AC against attacks from that kind of creature. You get an additional 1 for every 5 hit dice you possess, and at each interval the bonus gained regarding any one increases by 2 for skill checks and 1 for AC. At 20th level, you no longer need to drink, eat, or sleep to survive, though you must still rest with only light activity for at least 2 hours a day to renew your spells. Ah, geez, now we're elves from 3.5. Neato! While on a road, pathway, or tunnel, you gain DR4 over all the things. Your GM has final approval over what qualifies as that, but just play an archer. Stay on the road. You will not be moved. Probably gonna have to be moved if you have to fight Barzakh, though. Born by the Sun's Grace does, in fact, give us full stats for this CR28 bad boy. Well, true, neutral boy. It's awkward, whatever. As we always do, let's look at those supernatural, extraordinary, and generally very scary abilities. Worth certainly almost 5 million experience points. Yeah, it seems fair. First and foremost, while in the Boneyard, the Dead Roads, or the Material Plane, Barzakh can open new routes through the Dead Roads up to 3 times a day. This functions as if they had cast Teleportation Circle, but this new route lasts only 1 hour, unless Barzakh appoints a master for this route. A master can be any willing humanoid, monstrous humanoid, fae, or outsider, with at least 1 neutral component to their alignment, who must thereafter reside permanently along that length of the Dead Roads. A master gains Barzakh's Toss Thee Here Ashore ability while in their domain, and creatures must gain a stamp of approval from the master to use that length of the Dead Roads. If the master dies or is absent for more than 1 hour, that length vanishes. Well, while on the Dead Roads, Barzakh and this new master can cast Banishment at will, treating all creatures as if they had the extraplanar subtype. Creatures successfully banished are sent either to the Material Plane or the Boneyard at Barzakh's discretion. Or, on the other side of that, as a master of ways and lost things, Barzakh can decide when and if creatures leave their presence. Creatures that approach within 100 feet of Barzakh cannot leave that radius unless Barzakh wills it, always looping back if they flee and returning to a random point within 100 feet. No escape for you, not that easy. And if you should happen to kill Barzakh within their domain, Barzakh immediately reforms, growing from a random bird somewhere along the Dead Roads, with full hit points. They cannot use this ability for 1 month thereafter, so like most of the Demon Lords and Archdevils and things, gotta double tap it. In addition, Barzakh never stands exactly where they seem to, their mastery of travel slightly displacing them even when at rest. They gain a +5 deflection bonus to AC, and all attacks targeting them have a 20% miss chance. True Seeing and similar effects can negate the blur, but not the Ring of Protection. I'll also note that it's kinda weird that Barzakh's favorite weapon is a club, given that Barzakh wields the Surcease of Sorrows. A +4 adamantine impact repositioning heavy mace that resembles a simple key-shaped walking stick made of bone. A gift from Asmodeus to the fledgling Usher, and subsequently purged of a curse by Pharasma, the humble-seeming weapon is a beloved sign of Barzakh's station. It can function as a chime of opening with unlimited charges. Caster level 27th, 3 times per day, can be used to dismiss any sort of magical barrier or wall as greater dispel magic, but only affecting abjuration spells and spells whose names contain Wall of. And it uses an attack roll with a weapon in place of a caster level check, so great, the fighter can do it too. Wonderful! If the spell to be broken is affecting a specific creature, the result of the attack roll to dispel it must be equal or exceeding the target's spell DC or the creature's AC, whichever is higher. And only Asmodeus can destroy this thing with his bare hands, but first, Barzakh must be slain. For Barzakh's boon, you and any number of willing targets, maximum equal to your hit dice, are instantly transported to any point in the multiverse as per Gate. Being the master of the Dead Roads seems to make sense. Speaking of the Dead Roads, and Psychopomps at large, both of those are things we don't normally see in Pathfinder, and worshipping Barzakh brings them straight into your game. I happen to think that's pretty cool. It certainly makes things a little different. It certainly changes the flavor up, and in games that can sometimes get a little repetitive, yeah, sure. A little refreshing breath of fresh air never hurt anybody. Worshipping Barzakh is a little on the odd side, given that, we expect to get our spells every day, but sometimes your prayers aren't answered for a couple of days when you worship Barzakh. With that in mind, it's not the worst plot hook in the world if something horrible along the Dead Roads were to happen. Suddenly Barzakh needs to pay way more attention to you, make sure you get your spells and things, if nothing else giving that cleric, as a master of a piece of the Dead Roads, a relatively safe place to rest forever. That could maybe be applied to the party. Yeah, I can get behind that. Anyway, what do you guys think? Have we played / are we playing Tyrant's Grasp? Have we worshipped Barzakh? Throw it down in the comments. Let me know what we're thinking. That's all the time we have for today. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. There is some information on Southern Arcadia in this book, and we will get to it. The plate's just a little full, with 2nd edition right around the corner at this time. In any case, next week on Wednesday Afternoon Worship, it's another pseudo-deity demigod thing with obediences, with the ability to be fought, and I suppose we'll need a tyrant code, won't we? For Belial? Yeah, I think we will. See you then.